Buried beneath the dust of millennia, in a land where mountains meet the desert, archaeologists have uncovered something that should not exist. A single tomb, untouched since the dawn of civilization. Inside, not gold, not jewels, but something infinitely rarer. A fragment of DNA, preserved in silence for over 9,000 years. This is no ordinary discovery, because inside this sliver of ancient code lies a story older than writing, older than kings. The story of a people once thought lost to time. For centuries, the Fertile Crescent, stretching from modern Turkey to Mesopotamia, has been called the cradle of civilization. It was here that humans first built cities, farmed the land, and tamed the chaos of nature. But now, new genetic evidence suggests that an entire civilization, one that predated even Sumer and Egypt, may have flourished and vanished long before history began. Scientists are calling it one of the most important breakthroughs in archaeology, the unearthing of a forgotten culture hidden in the DNA of its last descendants. Who were these people? How did they build cities before cities were known? And why did they disappear so completely that the world forgot their name? The answers, it turns out, were locked inside a single tooth, a biological time capsule buried in the soil of Anatolia. And what that tooth revealed has rewritten the first chapter of civilization itself. The discovery and excavation. It began in the sun-scorched plains of southeastern Anatolia, where rolling hills hide the remains of settlements older than the wheel, older than the first stone temples. Archaeologists had been digging for decades, uncovering mud brick foundations, fragments of pottery, and the occasional burial. But nothing prepared them for what lay beneath the site of Gobekli Tarim, a remote plateau that, until recently, was thought to hold only early farming communities. In 2019, during a meticulously controlled excavation, a small team uncovered a burial chamber that had remained sealed for over 9 millennia. Inside lay the skeleton of a young man, his body laid with care, arms folded across his chest, and eyes forever closed. Around him were ceramic vessels, stone tools, and remnants of woven textiles, artifacts that hinted at a culture sophisticated beyond anything previously imagined. But the true treasure was hidden within. Among the skeletal remains, a single tooth, remarkably preserved, was extracted. It had survived the harsh climate, the passage of centuries, and the countless cycles of decay that had erased everything else. For the scientists, it wasn't just a tooth. It was a time capsule, a direct link to a civilization that lived, thrived, and vanished before the earliest known empires of Mesopotamia. The excavation was painstaking. Every layer of soil was recorded, every fragment cataloged. The team worked in silence, aware that even the smallest mistake could destroy the fragile DNA within the tooth. With specialized brushes, tiny scoops, and hours of careful labor, the artifact was transported to a high-security laboratory designed specifically for ancient DNA work. At the lab, scientists dressed in sterile suits, gloves, and face masks worked in near-perfect silence. The air was filtered and UV light sterilized, because even a single breath of modern DNA could contaminate the sample. Weeks of preparation followed, proteins dissolved, nucleotides carefully extracted, and sequences meticulously reconstructed. Every step was erased to time. Ancient DNA is fragile, almost impossible to recover in hot, arid climates like Anatolia's. Yet against all odds, the researchers succeeded. They had captured a complete genetic sequence from a person who lived 9,000 years ago. It was more than a scientific achievement. It was a message from the past, encoded in molecules, waiting to reveal the identity of a lost people. Genetic revelation. When the genome finally emerged from the laboratory, the results stunned the world. The DNA told a story that contradicted centuries of assumptions. For decades, scholars believed that the first urban centers in Anatolia had been influenced entirely by migrations from Mesopotamia, outsiders bringing farming, trade, and city building. But the genetic evidence suggested something radically different.
This ancient individual carried no signs of outside ancestry from Mesopotamian or steppe populations. Instead, the genome revealed a distinct lineage, a group of people who had evolved locally, blending with neighboring hunter-gatherers over thousands of years, long before the first known empires rose. The implications were staggering. The builders of Gobekli Tarim and surrounding settlements were not outsiders importing civilization. They were local innovators, architects of a culture that arose independently. Their DNA suggested a continuity that stretched from the earliest Neolithic communities into the populations that later populated the Anatolian plateau. Even more astonishing was what the genome revealed about lifestyle, diet, and health. Analysis indicated a population that had mastered agriculture, animal domestication, and urban planning centuries before history's conventional timeline. They were physically robust, adapted to local climates, and socially sophisticated, capable of cooperation, trade, and perhaps even government, despite leaving no written record. This genetic fingerprint rewrote history. The civilization was not an offshoot of better-known cultures. It was an original human achievement, born in Anatolia, flourishing in isolation, and thriving for centuries before disappearing almost entirely from the archaeological record. For scientists, the genome was a Rosetta Stone of the invisible past. It revealed migration patterns, interbreeding events, and the biological continuity that connected these ancient people to later populations in the region. Modern inhabitants of Anatolia carry fragments of this lost civilization in their genes, a living legacy of ingenuity, adaptation, and resilience. And yet the story raised more questions than it answered. If this civilization was so advanced, why did it disappear? What caused its cities to be abandoned? Was it climate change, shifting rivers, epidemics, or something else entirely? The DNA could tell who these people were, but not why history had seemingly erased them. Still, for the first time, the silence of 9,000 years was broken. Through a tiny fragment of biological material, the lost voices of a civilization long forgotten were finally heard.
Reconstructing the civilization. Piecing together the fragments of a civilization that left no written records is like assembling a puzzle with half the pieces missing. Yet, thanks to archaeology, anthropology, and the revelations hidden in their DNA, a picture of their world is beginning to emerge. At the heart of this society were settlements unlike anything previously documented for this period. Villages were carefully planned, with homes clustered around communal spaces and streets laid out with a surprising level of order. Pottery workshops, grain storage pits, and communal ovens suggest a culture that valued cooperation over conquest, innovation over domination. Their technology, though simple by modern standards, was revolutionary for the time. Stone tools were shaped with precision. Early copper smelting techniques hint at metallurgy centuries ahead of its time. Archaeologists have uncovered weaving looms and textile fragments, indicating an advanced understanding of materials and aesthetics. Even agricultural practices were sophisticated. Irrigation channels and crop rotation show a deep understanding of ecology and sustainability. Social structures, while still mysterious, appear to have been egalitarian. No monumental palaces, no imposing temples, no evidence of kingship. Leadership, if it existed, was likely communal or situational, guided by elders or specialists rather than a single ruler. Their culture thrived on collaboration and adaptability, creating a society resilient enough to survive thousands of years until forces beyond their control intervened. Environmental data from the region hints at what may have caused their decline. Around 7500 BCE, Anatolia underwent significant climatic shifts, prolonged droughts, shifting rivers, and unpredictable weather patterns. Crops failed, water sources dried up, and once flourishing settlements were abandoned. But rather than disappearing, these people adapted. Many migrated, taking with them seeds, animals, and knowledge that would later seed new communities across the Mediterranean and Near East. Their disappearance from the archaeological record is therefore not a story of extinction, but of transformation. The civilization didn't vanish, it evolved,
leaving behind subtle traces in the lands they once occupied and, more profoundly, in the genes of future generations. This reconstruction of daily life, combined with genetic evidence, reveals a civilization that was not only advanced, but also deeply human, innovative, cooperative, and resilient. Through careful study, we see not just ruins and bones, but the echoes of families, artisans, farmers, and thinkers whose ingenuity laid the foundations for societies yet to come. The living legacy and scientific impact. The story of this lost Anatolian civilization does not end in the soil of an ancient tomb. It lives on, quietly, in the people of the region today. Modern inhabitants of Anatolia carry fragments of their DNA, invisible threads connecting them to a world that vanished thousands of years ago. Every strand tells a story of innovation, survival, and adaptation. This discovery has forced historians, archaeologists, and geneticists to rethink the origins of civilization. The assumption that urban life, agriculture, and complex societies spread solely from Mesopotamia or Egypt is no longer absolute. Instead, the evidence suggests that multiple, independent centers of innovation existed, societies capable of building cities, cultivating crops, and mastering technology long before the rise of empires. Beyond reshaping history books, this finding has a profound human dimension. It reminds us that the people of the past were not distant, abstract figures. They were innovators, dreamers, and survivors, whose ingenuity laid the groundwork for future generations. Their choices, struggles, and resilience echo through time, embedded in our genes, culture, and collective memory. The single tooth, a tiny fragment preserved for millennia, has become more than a scientific artifact. It is a symbol of connection, a reminder that even in the silence of lost civilizations, the past can speak. Modern technology has given voice to the voiceless, revealing that the story of humanity is much richer, far more complex, and far more interconnected than we ever imagined. As archaeologists continue to explore and as geneticists decode more ancient DNA, the mysteries of the past will keep unfolding. Each discovery illuminates not only who we were, but who we are. Our roots, our migrations, our shared capacity for creativity and adaptation. This is the power of science, to reach back across thousands of years and give a voice to those who have been silent for too long. And as long as we keep listening, who knows what other civilizations, forgotten, hidden, or lost, are waiting beneath the earth, ready to tell their story. The lost civilization of Anatolia is no longer forgotten. Through DNA, archaeology, and human curiosity, it speaks again, a timeless echo of ingenuity, resilience, and the enduring spirit of humanity.